Fortnite Chapter 3 is a very interesting chapter, as many players consider the chapter to be great, while others think that the chapter was a massive letdown. So join me in today's video as we discuss if Fortnite Chapter 3 was a bad chapter. First, let's go ahead and focus on the map throughout Chapter 3. Now, Season 1 was our first season on the brand new map, and we had countless new POIs to enjoy, including Condo Canyon, Sleepy Sound, the Jonesies, and many more. Now, in my opinion, the base map at the start of Chapter 3 Season 1 was extremely solid. We had a very nice variety of biomes, and most of the POIs were very fun to land at. Then in Season 2, the map was at war, resulting in POIs being destroyed and signs of war all over the map. We received the Fortress POI near Loot Lake, as well as the IO taking over countless POIs and deploying blimps in the sky. And then Season 3 brought us the brand new Reality Falls biome, which I'm very mixed on. On one hand, it brought us a nice, vibrant, and colorful biome, and a great landmark with the reality tree. But on the other hand, Greasy Grove was severely destroyed due to the mushrooms coming from the ground. The season also had the idea of POIs changing themes each time you played a game. Now, this was a fantastic concept, and I really wish they would have expanded more on it, but sadly, they just left the idea back in Chapter 3, Season 3. And finally, Season 4 is where the map got completely bonkers. Chrome was consuming the island throughout the entire season, and countless POIs were floating above ground avoiding the Chrome. So overall, I feel like the Chapter 3 map had a great start and it had a lot of potential, but wasn't properly executed due to the small amount of time that we had on the map. My favorite POIs to land at were either removed, such as Camp Cuddle, or were severely damaged at one point in the chapter with Greasy Grove and Tilted Towers. So with that said, Chapter 3 receives a 7 out of 10 in the map category. Next, let's shift our focus to what I think is the worst aspect of Chapter 3 with the loot pool. With the loot pool in Chapter 3, it felt like Epic was insistent on keeping our favorites such as the Scar and the Pump out of the game, while trying to replace them with weapons that were nowhere near as fun to use. But sure, we had some good weapons added within Chapter 3, such as the MK7 Assault Rifle, the Stinger SMG, and the Prime Shotgun. For me, my least favorite weapons were the Striker Pump, every single version of the DMR, and the Hammer Assault Rifle. And let's not mention the worst gun in the entire game that was added during Chapter 3 with the Charged SMG. Though this chapter did bring us one of the coolest items that we've ever had in the game with the Spider-Man Mythic. But unfortunately, the Spider-Man Mythic wasn't enough to save the loot pool within Chapter 3. So overall, I feel like Chapter 3 had the weakest loot pool out of any chapter. Season 4 started to turn this around a little bit with a nice mix of new weapons, classic weapons, and fun weapons such as the Chrome AR and the Goo Gun. I feel like if Epic treated the loot pool like this for all of Chapter 3, the loot pool would have been golden. But given the reality of the situation, I give the loot pool for Chapter 3 a 6.5 out of 10. Next up, let's go ahead and discuss the battle passes that we got within Chapter 3. Now, Season 1 has arguably the strongest battle pass of the entire chapter. In my opinion, Shanta, Ronin, and Spider-Man are all fantastic skins within the pass, and the Foundation was a great secret skin. Not to mention, Harlow had some amazing customization options on top of an already solid base skin. The season also had some great super styles that only covered the character's clothes, which is always better than a style consuming the entire skin. And then we have Season 2 that brought us a good battle pass as well. So this battle pass brought us Doctor Strange, Chizuki, and Ariza. The super styles this time around were solid as well, with my favorite being the Tempest style. And that moves us on to Season 3, which I personally think is one of the weakest battle passes in the entire game. Across the entire battle pass, the only skin that I would say I enjoyed is Eevee. And before you get your pitchforks out, I love Darth Vader as a character, and his skin is a neat one to have. But I never find myself running this skin due to the cape just being too much. And as if the battle pass wasn't bad enough, the super styles came in and made the battle pass even worse. And finally, we have Season 4, which I personally think was a very underrated battle pass. I love Gwen and the Paradigm, and I'll stand my ground that Bites isn't that bad of a skin. Not to mention, the super styles for Season 4 were also very solid. So overall, I think that Chapter 3 had one amazing battle pass, two good battle passes, and one bad battle pass. So with that said, Chapter 3 earns an 8 out of 10 in the battle pass category. Next, let's talk about the innovations that Chapter 3 brought along with it. First up, we have the obvious with the introduction of zero builds into the game. Zero builds brought a lot of new players into the game and also managed to bring back players that had previously left the game. The new mode allowed players to enjoy the solid gunplay of Fortnite without having to worry about mastering building 5 years into the game's life cycle. And then we also have the addition of sprinting, mantling, and sliding within Chapter 3 as well. These are features that felt like they always belonged in the game, and they've helped make Zero Build feel fast and fluent without building. So overall, Chapter 3 scores a 10 out of 10 with innovation, adding core mechanics and modes that have helped Fortnite keep chugging along 2 years later. And finally, let's go ahead and talk about live events and seasonal events. To start off, Chapter 3 was home to one of the worst summer events with No Sweat Summer, as well as one of the worst Halloween events with Fortnitemares 2022. No Sweat Summer seemed very promising. We had rumors of a concert taking place during the event, as well as skate parks being built on the water. But sadly, when the event came around, we received no concert or skate feature inside of the game. In retrospect, Chapter 4 certainly had the worst summer event, but No Sweat Summer was still a massive disappointment. And Fortnitemares for Chapter 3 had a similar feeling for me. There weren't many decorations around the map outside of the brand new Grim Gables POI, and I grew tired of everything being party themed in Chapter 3. Not to mention, the new mythic that was added for Fortnitemares was a cool concept, but it was hardly in the game due to glitches throughout the event. And that leads us to talking about the live events. We had one live event to kick off the chapter, one in the middle, and one to end it. The flipped event was super cool, but that wasn't entirely a Chapter 3 event, as it was the conclusion for Chapter 2, leading us to the beginning of Chapter 3. Then the collision event in the middle of the season was very solid, but not the best. And that leads us to the worst event in the entire game with the fractured event at the end of Chapter 3. The entire build up to our island's fate with the Herald and Chrome was solved in a simple cutscene at the very beginning of the event, leading us to just walking around a creative map completing a tedious quest for what felt like an eternity. So overall, the seasonal events as well as live events really didn't live up to what Fortnite players were used to. So I'll give Chapter 3 a 5 out of 10 in this category, given that Winterfest was awesome and the Collider event was solid as well. So overall, I definitely think Chapter 3 was the weakest out of every chapter. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't a terrible or a bad chapter, but it was a chapter full of a lot of misfires and a lot of untapped potential. Though there were some positives to the chapter, I would give Chapter 3 as a whole a 7 out of 10. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Was Chapter 3 a good chapter, or do you think it was bad? But until next time guys, as always, take care and stay twisty.